Good morning. My name is Jake Livingston, Planning Operations for the Cameron Peak incident, and I will give you an update for September 4th. Today we can expect weather to be in the low 70s to low 80s up in the fire area. RHs will be 10 to 20%, and winds will be out of the west at 4 to 15 miles an hour. We are in a fire weather watch for those high temperatures and low humidities up in the fire area. As far as activity, yesterday, the most activity was on the north and east portion of the fire, just south of the Highway 14. And what happened there was, once the fire was up in the Green Ridge area, it grew in a north and easterly direction, and then up on the ridge line paralleling Highway 14. As that fire progressed, the structure group number 1, they did do some small scale burnouts around the DOT station up there, and that went well. As the main fire backed down the slope above the station, they just lit off around it, and that's all looking good. Today they'll continue to patrol what they burned out last night. And then they'll watch as activity increases today. They do expect this area to be really active today again, as well as on the south side of the Highway 14, up on this eastern flank here on the ridge line just south of Highway 14. So they'll be keeping an eye on that. As far as structure number 2 in the Crystal Lakes area, structure group number 3 in the Redfeather Lakes area, and structure group number 4 in the Glacier View area. They're coming up with some plans, and they have initiated some of these plans, but they're putting some control lines in front on the south side and around these communities. So that's what they'll be doing today in all 3 of those areas with structure groups 2, 3, and 4. Division Alpha, they're in monitor status still. They have personnel watching the fire activity down here by drop point 92. They still have a forward operating base out of the Stub Creek Work Center, so they'll keep an eye on that. As you move into Division Foxtrot, the contingency line that they've been working on the past 2 weeks, the majority of that is complete, all the way from Division Alpha Foxtrot break all the way around through Division Lima, just south of Crystal Lakes, and then down the Manhattan Road to 14. So that is all complete. There is some cleanup in that area. On the west side of Foxtrot, they still have to skid out some logs from the feller bunchers. That's real steep terrain there, and they have some chipping operations. As mentioned before, south of Lima and west of Division Romeo, we have a hand line coming up out of the Forest Service Visitor Center, just up from Fire Station 2. So there's a hand line that comes up the steep portion of the ridge, which was already in place from a prescribed fire operation from the local forest. So they're improving that. And then once it gets off the steep terrain and levels off up higher, it turns into a dozer line. And the plan is to continue that dozer line and tie into the 517 Alpha Road, and they'll be prepping that road, removing hazard trees and limbing trees and chipping, and then that'll continue all the way up to the DP 160 area on the Dead Man Road. Division Uniform, all the way down in Pingree Park Road area, Crown Point Road. We do have some masticators, feller bunchers, and skidders working along the Crown Point Road, just removing excess vegetation, creating a defensible space along the roadway, and removing hazard trees. The surge group out at the end of Crown Point Road, that's out in the wilderness, in the Comanche Peak wilderness, due to this activity out here, predicted weather over the next 3 to 4 days, we're going to pull them back to the Crown Point Road and then reassign them out into structure group number 1 along the Highway 14 corridor, so they can help out with structure protection down in that area. Concerning the weather that's predicted over the next 4 days, 3 to 4 days, We're expecting hotter and drier conditions with some winds out of the west. And what that's going to do is continue to dry out the fuels out in the fire area. We expect increased activity throughout the fire. And so we can expect more activity down the Highway 14 corridor. We are going to increase our usage of aircraft in critical areas along the infrastructure along the 14 corridor, and then in areas closer to where our personnel are working, just to keep those fire areas in check. But the next 3 to 5 days we can expect increased activity, and then we have a weather event coming in, and we're waiting on the particulars on that. We expect possibly some snow in the high country. We hope for that, and what we don't hope for is wind in front of that weather system. So time will tell on that. Over in Division Whiskey, we have the Long Draw Road where the Alpine Hotshots are working up Corral Creek off the Long Draw Road, and they're still continuing to work with saws and hand tools and mitigating hazard trees, and tie that into the high open ridge lines. And then on the other side, off of the 14 in Division Whiskey, Craggs Park area, there's a hand line that comes down there and ties into the tree line area. So the intent there is to bring those two together. Another thing I want to mention is part of the Structure 4 group is working on the 44 Buckhorn Road and the Stove Prairie Road, and they're prepping that road system, and there's chipper operations in there as well. As far as our night division, our night operations, that's ongoing, and that'll build slightly, increase in numbers as activity increases along the 14 corridor. So we'll have a 24-hour presence along the Highway 14 corridor, as well as on the south end of the fire, Joe Wright Reservoir on the Cameron Pass area. That is all I have for the update for September 4th. Thank you.